This is Dr. Rodriguez, Psych 101, Chapter 11, Personality. This is Part B. We're moving on to the learning or the behaviorism perspective or theory of personality. So, the learning perspective or behaviorist perspective says that personality is just behaviors that we can see. It's personality is a set of habits that have been learned through conditioning. You are your behaviors is what this perspective says. So, behaviors that have been learned through conditioning. So you're going to recognize most of these names because we've talked about them already. So Pavlov, he talked about how we learn instincts, that a dog learned to salivate to a bell through conditioning, through associating the bell with food. We learn emotions. Watson did the little Albert experiments where the little Albert, the little baby, learned to fear the rat because it was associated with a loud noise. So Watson offered us insight into how we learn emotions. We learn behaviors through rewards and punishments. Remember Skinner's experiments? Animals were rewarded or punished, and if they were rewarded, that behavior was reinforced, they would do it more. And if a behavior was punished, if they hit the wrong lever or they hit the lever with a light on, then they would maybe get shocked. And they would be less likely to do that behavior again. So we learn behaviors through rewards and punishments. This is that whole behavioral modification that kids go through with, getting stickers when they do a good job, or they get timeouts if they don't. So they learn to do certain behaviors because it gives them a good consequence or a bad consequence. We also learn through observation. Bandura did the Bobo, bang, 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 Bobo, the Bobo doll study, where the kids that watched the adults beating on this Bobo doll, and the adults didn't get in trouble, and they looked like they were having fun. The little kids, when they had a chance to do it, they beat up that Bobo doll just as much as the adults, if not more. So we observe and we think, they look like they're having fun. They're not getting in trouble. I think I can do it. And then they do it. So there's some thought involved too. There's observation and thought. So that's that social cognitive aspect of learning. So we can learn through other people, and we do behaviors that we think we won't get in trouble for, that we think we can get away with. So Bandura did the Bobo doll study. He also talks about reciprocal determinism and how our behavior is determined through a mix of the environment. When we see models or the adults beating it up and they're not getting in trouble, we might act out that behavior if we also think that we can do it, that we have the self-efficacy, that we are capable of doing a behavior, then we do it. So there's also that cognition aspect of I think I can, therefore I will. Michelle did this study, the marshmallow test. And what this one found is that little kiddos that held off on eating the marshmallow, that they showed more self-control. But with further studies, they realized that perhaps maybe this child has learned some self-control because they have been in an environment, they grew up around people that they could trust. They have certain expectations. If they think that they're going to get food again in the future, then they're, if having a marshmallow isn't a big deal, then they were more likely to hold off on eating it. So expectations, trust is also involved, not just in internal self-control. It's not just internal. We have to consider expectations and trust. What has gone on in that person's world, environment before that allows them to have that self-control, to not grab that marshmallow really quickly. So according to the learning and the behavioral perspective, problems arise when we learn maladaptive behaviors, when we learn to do things that are not great for us anymore. So a little kid maybe learns that by throwing a fit in the store and kicking and screaming, if they kick and scream, that they get a candy. The parent will just be like, fine, just, you can have it. So, it's learning maladaptive behavior through rewards and punishments, or maybe seeing other people do it. So we have to unlearn these behaviors through behavior modification. We can assess our personality through behavioral assessments, observation, experiments, like a lot of these experiments here. So the learning or the behaviorist perspective says that personality is just a set of habits, a set of behaviors that we do, that we learned through association, through rewards and punishments, through our experiences. Now, the humanistic theory of personality development says that human beings are inherently amazing, wonderful people with all the potential in the world to become the best person that they can possibly be, that they just need to get their needs met. And in those needs is also that need for unconditional positive regard. That if human beings have support and love and food and all these needs met, then they can self-actualize. They can become the best person that they can possibly be. So Maslow, he is a humanistic theorist. Maslow had that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, saying, your physiological needs need to be met before you can meet your esteem needs or your self-actualization needs. Rogers, he was a humanistic psychologist as well, and he had the person-centered therapy, which said we really just need to actively listen to our clients, listen to what they're saying, reflect back to them what they're saying, let them know that they are not being judged, that they are accepted, that they're getting unconditional positive regard. When we show others that we care about them, that they're seen, that they're understood, then they can move closer to their real or their ideal self. They can self-actualize. They can move closer to who the best person that they can be. So our self-concept, our real and ideal self, is gained as we try to self-actualize. Our ideal self is what we would like to be. And our real self is who we are at this time. And here's a picture, our real self versus our ideal. Problems happen when Maslow would say, problems happen in our personality, in our lives, with our behavior and our thinking, when our needs are not met, when our physiological needs, safety needs, our sense of belonging, all these needs are not met. If these needs aren't met, you can't self-actualize. You can't put your attention to becoming the best person that you want to be. So Maslow would say, we need to meet these needs so that you can become the best person that you want. Now, Rogers would say that we need to help the person to become more like their ideal self. And they can become more like their ideal self when they get this unconditional positive regard. When somebody says, I see you, I support you, I'm not judging you, just unconditionally loved, supported. When we have that, we become more of our, best self. So the humanistic personality theory would say that to assess personality, we need to listen to the client. We need to do this, client-centered therapy. By listening to our clients, we can learn about them and in their unmet needs and help them to have their needs being met. Now, the trait perspective of personality. So, trait theory. There's a story that Alport, the psychologist in the 20s, 30s, he was going to see Freud. And when he got to, Freud's, office or whatever, Freud's like, how was your trip? How was your trip? And Alport is like, well, on the train, there was this little boy who was, throwing a fit, pushing away from his mother, slapping at his mother, was really resistant to his mother's attempts to calm him down. And Freud says, was this little boy you? Tell me about it. So Alport's like, no, dude, Freud, you're looking into this too much. Me telling you this story is not some sort of projection of my issues with my mother. It's just, I saw a kid acting up on the train. That is it. Okay. I'm just telling you about this kid and how this kid was, acting like a little jerk. That's it. It's as deep as that. I'm not getting into unconscious stuff. So Alport said we need to focus less on this unconscious stuff and less on like missed growth opportunities, less talking about early childhood development, and focus more on conscious motivations in the present. So Alport said that instead of focusing on this unconscious, let's focus on the here and now and describe personality and figure out what personality traits are correlated with success and which personality traits are correlated with a lack of success. So the trait theory is all about saying that personality is just a set of traits. It's more of an explanation. It's less of an explanation for how we acquire personality, and this theory more gives us words to be able to describe and measure personality and also predict what traits are correlated with success. So trait theory says that our personality is just a bunch of traits that we can measure and that allow us to describe who we are. Problems come about in the way that we think and behave. We have problems in our life when we possess traits that are less correlated with wellness and success, and that we need to work towards getting more of the positive traits. So we can assess personality according to the trait theory by doing personality inventories. Personality inventories are self-reported tests, like a bunch of different questions. How often, or would you describe yourself as this or this or this? And it allows these personality inventories results in either personality types, or they give us a measure of how much of a trait a person has. Factor analysis was one of the first personality inventories, and a factor analysis was used to narrow down traits, personality traits, from 1,000 different types of personality traits to 16 to 3 to 5. And then Costa and McCrae came along and offered this big five personality traits, and says that we are all on this spectrum between this and this, this and this, this and this, this and this, and this and this. And you can use the word ocean to remember the different traits. Openness. Are you more practical, conventional, prefer routine? Are you more curious? You like to experience new opportunities, new things. C, conscientiousness. Are you more impulsive, careless, disorganized? Are you more hardworking and dependable? E, extroversion. Are you quiet, reserved, withdrawn, or more outgoing, warm, and seeking adventure? Agreeableness. Are you critical, uncooperative, suspicious, or more helpful and trusting? Neuroticism. Are you more, calm, even-tempered, secure, or are you more anxious, unhappy, prone to negative emotions? So Costa and McCrae gave us this big five, the ocean. And it says that we fall somewhere in the middle of these, spectrums. It has been shown to be valid and reliable, as well as we can use it in many different cultures to explain people. There's a sixth trait that has been proposed that should be added: humility and honesty. But the original theory, Costa and McCrae's, had the five. Myers and Briggs has the different types. Maybe you've heard, like, what's your type? INSJ. And there's less support for this because it's hard to put us into, there were a handful of different types. And, having just a handful of types to describe every single person out there, it's not enough. So there's more support for Costa and McCrae. There's also this dark triad of traits that predict who is more likely to commit crime. If you score high in psychopathology, neuroticism, Machiavellianism, then you're more likely to commit crime. So the trait theory says that our personality is just a set of traits. We have problems when we possess more of the traits that are correlated with negative results. And we can assess personality through personality inventories that give us a readout of the different traits that we possess.